Hello, and welcome back to Strange Hungers. Last we left off, the Fulcrum Expedition, having left behind Fear's Pass, began their journey from the pass to Mount Olive, where they will find the Order of Black Ice before they begin their deeper journey into the frozen wastelands. They took up residence at a lovely B&B known as Rock Haven, led by two Duergar, Ro and Cree, a taciturn but friendly enough couple. They restored some exhaustion, managed to finally rest off some of the wounds that they've taken, as well as the lingering lack of sleep. And coming together, discussed their further journey, as well as the intense encounters that they have had behind them. In the midst of the night, a stranger made his way to the B&B and was discovered in the morning by Matthias to be an older Eladrin individual who, once making his way into the B&B, revealed that he has some kind of patronage with Laura, the other dwarf the party's been traveling with, a lunar sorcerer. The two of them, upon discussion with Oesh, revealed as well that he had been hunting some kind of creature or pack or individual who was coming back to life when it should not have been possible. And I believe that's where we left off with the Fulcrum Expedition party, warm in the morning air of the kitchen of this B&B, where they are taking a respite, perhaps a coffee as well, from the excellent cooking of these Duergar. Oesh, you step away from Laura and Aldris. You see the two of them still in discussion in one corner of these benches that are set out with pillows around this open, warm hearth. I believe that everyone else, Matthias, Kiara, Barden, and Tazriel, are sitting at breakfast. Is that correct?
I was putting on my armor.
You were putting on your armor with Vice, right? You were discussing.
Yeah. We were doing a little, like a hair braiding chain, but for putting on armor and only two people.
It's like the most awkward circle. When you're so comfortable with someone, it's like your legs thrown over them to get in that awkward spot.
Quite a loud ritual.
We've done it a lot. It's like
clonk, clonk.
It's like a dance at this point. It's so graceful.
I'll strap you, you strap me.
I was just gonna say, like, is there any way to, like, I don't know, mute the sounds of that situation?
No.
Do any of you have silence? The silence.
Even if I did, I don't think I'd waste the spell.
No, absolutely not. This is is there like a cantrip we can do?
You can
Put
add
some
to it with
padding on those
thaumaturgy.
fucking.
You know what? If you cast enough cantrips, the sound will stop, but not in the way I think you want.
And Taz, you're looking a little bit brighter-eyed this morning. Just a tad. You know, you still got some deep kind of greenish circles under the eyes, but you don't look like you're about to keel over onto the table for once.
Good.
Your boy's feeling great.
What are Laura and the Silver Fucko doing? What are they doing?
Now, I want to be clear about something. Are we all staring at the two of them? Are you trying to avoid looking over at what's happening there?
Matthias is looking.
While putting on armor?
I said my piece.
He's like sending over glances. He's not like... he's trying to like surreptitiously sort of like...
Is it like the Parks and Rec meme where they're just like, no, don't look, and just going...
Okay.
Now, don't look now.
What's Taz doing?
Taz is, actually, you know what I think Taz is actually doing? I think, at one point during the conversation, before Oesh went over there, might have been like, hey, if you want to, like, let us know what's happening, because we do have the big mind link up, but otherwise, he's listening, but acting like he's having a conversation with, like, Kiara and Barden.
Gotcha. Okay, then. So you're kind of glancing. Matthias, you're the one who's looking most openly. I have offered my group the option for a cool new mechanic as part of our dive into the wastes and things becoming more difficult. And they have said that they're interested in trying it out. So, Matthias, would you tell me what your insight modifier is?
I didn't hear anything about this new role type.
You didn't hear anything about this. Let me.
Oh, it was in the chat in Strange Hunters, I think.
Right. Actually, so I'll give you the option, Sloan. I have put in an optional ability for hidden knowledge checks, which means that I might roll certain checks for you. I might roll. It's in the other.
I know. I'm looking for it and I can't find it. How long ago did we talk about this?
Last night.
Yesterday.
It was in a different channel.
It's in
I
main.
think it's the main chat. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also, I'd love to kind of listen the best I can while I'm talking. I can absolutely do that at a disadvantage.
Oh,
but
it's this
I
picture.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So-
What's up?
Let me explain it for the stream. So the potential option for hidden knowledge checks means that I, as the GM, could roll things like insight or perception or history without you knowing the final number, but still using your regular modifier, and then I tell you what you hear. So that gives the option for information that might not be quite as accurate, or insight checks where you are unsure how well you're actually reading someone. But again, this is kind of dependent on player comfort. I don't want to give you information that is going to be completely wrong and then have you integrate that into a main part of your personality. But it has been interesting previously when we've had, critical fails on information checks, and then you guys still kind of know that they're wrong and you're all great actors. Whatever, it doesn't matter, but it's just to have it be interesting. So, Maddie, do you want to roll your own insight check, or are you interested in having me roll an insight check?
Oh, I don't know. I kind of like rolling my own dice.
Vibe. All right. I'm cool with that. Would you give me an insight check, and I will also take one from novel. It doesn't have to be.
Did Taz want to do it?
Yes.
But Alex, you can roll for me. At least you get that a try. My modifier is +6.
+6 for Taz.
You know what?
Okay.
You know what? I'm also +6, and I would like you to roll for me. That's fun.
Okay.
I feel like it's definitely
Okay.
leaving in your hands of what information you give us. I love this.
Excellent. And what did you get, Matthias?
I didn't roll yet.
Do it. You got this.
Flat 10.
Flat 10. Okay. Great.
For insight?
For insight.
Okay.
So, all of you kind of glancing over, trying to listen while you're talking to each other. You all, at some point when you glance over, recognize that Aldris had, there's always this moment where you look over and he kind of immediately turns to make the eye contact back, the way that someone can feel their eyes on them. So he's definitely aware that you all are interested in him, at the very least. There's a very perceptive nature to this individual, where he can tell that he is a center of attention in the room. Other than that, as you're listening, you're not catching a lot of snippets. They're keeping their voices very low, but their nature seems to be friendly towards each other. They have a companionship in what they're talking about. Not much else that you can gauge from him, besides the fact that, just from appearances only, this isn't a perception check, this is just flat perception, he looks to be someone who has survived intense danger and carries himself like it. In a similar way that Matthias does, honestly.
Fucking hate this guy. I hate him.
Stepping on my stuff.
So we
I know,
definitely...
he's Dark Matthias. DARQUE Matthias.
DARQUE?
Dark. I feel like it's the only way that word can be pronounced.
Yeah, Dark Matthias.
Dark. We definitely can't talk about this guy while he's in the room. I don't even know if we could talk about this guy while he was in the house next to us. So
We still have a
definitely
group chat.
Listen.
We do have a group chat.
Yeah, which
Unless we're just being really facially explicit.
It is interesting when you're all talking to each other and then you all silently, like, fall silent and stare at each other. That is still a notable thing that people realize.
I think
the way to cover that up is
we're
with
totally normal.
with the clang clang of the armor and the clink clink of the spoons in our bowls.
It's great.
We're having
The
breakfast.
heartstrings.
You're just shoveling.
Yeah, you're like, nom, nom. You know, it's rude to talk while you're chewing.
Companionable silence. It's classic.
Clang clang.
We're sleepy guys. Shit happens. I'm sleepy.
Kiara, in your head and in everyone's head, Matthias is like, do you know anything else about this person beyond the ogre situation? Is anything at all?
Well, he's a famous hunter. But I think the only way to find out why he's here is to ask him, but I don't think he'd want to tell us. But I guess DM, is there anything else I can remember or glean having been in his company for a while now?
Sure.
Like any old stories coming up?
Would you like a private history check, or do you want to roll your own?
Private's fine. I've got a +4 somehow.
A +4? Ooh, okay. So
Why do I have proficiency in history? The fuck?
You were trained as a noble in your own history.
You're ancient beyond even your own knowledge.
It's fucking weird, though. Although, I mean, to be fair, Kiara, I keep saying Kiara has 2 brain cells, but she does have a 11 intelligence. She's slightly above average.
Yeah. So, Kiara, the Guild of Silver and Searching is known for certain kinds of old-fashioned ideals and rituals. You would say that although you would have not seen many other groups, like members of this guild, they are kind of not, they wouldn't be considered pagan necessarily, but rather well studied on some of like old religion, pre-empire things, which the Corgo family wouldn't necessarily look askance at. It's more just considered a bit weird. But you also know, this is the thing that's kind of more relevant to your personal experience, that part of the vast riches of your family come in the form of something called the Slayer's Treasure, which is a bit like I guess, kind of like a college fund, right? But it's for monster slayers. So
Fellowship for monster killers.
yes, it's like a fellowship. It's like, you know, they take applications, right? So if you can show the family that you've slain a significant enough monster, there is gold to be had in it. There's a livelihood to be had.
There's just like a permanent reserve for that.
Exactly. This reserve is not located in Jalraha. Certainly the Empire can requisition it. So again, notable that Aldris would bring tribute directly to the royal family, because it's likely that he was trying to get some kind of bounty, not directly from Slayer's Treasure, but from like the royal family themselves. So to be impressive enough, the royal family be like, you're kind of cool, like I'll slip you some coin, I'll give you some favors, and then separately apply for the bounty from Tehran, which is another city in Abjur, where they have like the formal application process.
Yeah.
You bring in your bounty, you know, the monster parts are weighed, etc.
Yeah. So Kiara will share that, and will also say, it was always very interesting to me. I mean, do we call it confidence? Do we call it gall? I don't know what it is called, but to be like, it was always interesting to me that instead of going to the place which is the central hub of slayers and their scholarships, that he would choose to come to court and demand, I don't know what you would call it, FaceTime to... And I never quite understood it, because, well, I mean, as you can tell, he's quite hard to read. Was it a demand that his stakes be acknowledged by the court? I don't know. But it's so different from my understanding of the world in every way that. I mean, I'd love to know more about it, but I don't think he'd be open to questions, so I just have to sit here and wonder.
Now, Matthias and Kiara, could you both give me charisma checks? Just flat charisma.
Flat charisma. A charisma check.
I think this is one thing we both are, which is charismatic bitches.
Charismatic.
That's an
In
18.
very different ways.
18, okay.
I got a 16.
Okay. The two of you staring at each other for a time.
We're not looking at each other.
We're staring at each other for a time.
No, you know what's fucking funny? We are staring at each other. What of it?
You guys are just staring at each other over breakfast. The rest of your party knows what's going on, but
Do they?
Maybe they don't. Who knows? But Kree, the Dwergar, passes by you to put like more whipped eggs onto the table, like really fluffy eggs, and just kind of says in a low voice, "Sorry, we were not able to get the two of you a private room."
Barden just makes that sound like.
Hold on. I gotta roll for something. Okay.
Matthias
says-
chokes.
If Matthias chokes, Gara say, "Oh, we're very okay with being in public. It's fine."
Oh my god.
Kiara,
We're
in your head.
exhibitionists.
Listen, raised by Tiger's Eye and the the court. Like what?
Just slowly rising pink from beneath the armor all the way up his neck and up his face as he coughs.
Kiara, I think you hear in your head, I know I've been like half dead recently from a lack of sleep, but did I miss something here? And very much like, ooh, kind of, just to Kiara specifically.
Kiara just be like, no, it's just, it's Matthias. It's always funny. Also, I have to get payback for him, stabbing things when we were sleeping the last time.
What?
Remember he stabbed a hole in the tent? Was that the last sleep we got? I think it was.
It feels
That's
like it.
long rest.
That was the last time we slept for the night.
Life is just a painful blur between long rests.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Like on an
because
embroidered pillow.
after that we all got high and Barden got stolen, and then we left with it was very fast.
Yeah,
the last,
that was like you've been running around.
My god.
the
these
last time we
days.
got sleep, Matthias stabbed a tent.
Okay.
It was an accident, damn it.
You finish your breakfast in some sort of companionable silence or chatting, and begin to make preparations to set off for the rest of your journey. Of course, Neve, Vice, the dwarves that were accompanying you have begun to pack up. There was no discussion of staying another night here in this tavern, so it makes sense that most of you would have previously packed the rest of your goods up as needed. You've got your repaired cart, you've got your two sort of ram goat boys, Baru and Yaru, which means that you are fairly well set out. Now, we haven't checked in on this for a while, and I just want to get a general sense of it. I know that your rations were affected by previous encounter with the ooze, and then you purchased additional rations from Furists. So, in a general note, if you have taken this down in your inventory, how are you guys doing on rations?
Oh man. I don't know if I've been noting it. Hold on. Let me look at my notes and see if I... Well, actually, I was gone for that particular episode. So I don't think I have it noted anywhere.
I haven't noted it. I know I've got at least 3 in mine.
Yeah, you just went hunting.
'Cause I went hunting.
So.
But if we got more I'm gonna have to look back through the app.
I have my own
It's
rations.
You have your own rations. Okay.
I have 8 days worth.
I have 3 days worth of rations, my own stuff.
Nice.
I mean, I don't think I've ever fixed what's in my starting inventory because Kiara doesn't carry her own shit.
Yeah. Completely the vibe.
Yeah.
There's always food on the table when Kiara needs it, and that's how she prefers to live.
This princess is amazing.
Hey, Kiara brought the spices.
Yeah, it's gonna be tasty at least.
Wait, I'm actually looking to see. Does Kiara know any? She has create or destroy water.
At some point, if you have that feast spell, that would be great.
Oh, Kiara has create food and water.
Oh, tight.
She just has to know to prepare it. But she can prepare 45 pounds of food and 30 gallons of water.
Okay, so Matthias is covered. Everybody else?
I'm sorry. Sir, enough to sustain 15 humanoids?
You could fit
Yeah, he
15
needs his
bodies in this boy.
He needs.
Well, so-
you can be
Here's the
stuffed.
thing. This is why Kiara has spices, because it says the food is bland but nourishing.
Yeah.
And Kiara's like, not the fuck on my watch.
Yeah.
Should we say like a base number of what we had left after the ooze?
So what I'm going to say is that you all have, like, whatever rations you've written down are what you have right now. I don't want to do too much like wheeling and dealing because I don't think it's particularly interesting, honestly. But I am thinking that in the future, as we get deeper into the waste, we might begin tracking something called survival conditions, which is another little homebrew thing, which means that we start tracking our hunger, thirst, and fatigue. This is something we're going to kind of like get into slowly because it is an additional information sink, and I don't want you guys to be overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting because it offers something called a stamina DC, which means that if you're feeling your highest like level of hunger, thirst, or fatigue, even temperature as well. So like if you're uncomfortable temperature-wise, it gives you a higher stamina DC. So if you are particularly thirsty, particularly hungry, particularly tired, or particularly cold, it means that sometimes when you do something that would be require a lot of energy, like if you're running or if you're fighting, then you make a stamina DC, and it might also give you exhaustion. So some interesting things there that we might start using. Again, you don't have to track this for the time being, but if there's a way in your notes in the future you want to write down hunger, thirst, fatigue, and temperature, think about that.
And Kiara would... Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I do just want to say that this sounds like as if we're playing Minecraft and we have modded the fuck out of this and we have to track all of that. I had to say it. Please continue.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that Kiara would have told the group because she's not into resource management. That's somebody else's fucking problem. She would say that the water will not go bad. Like Kiara can create the water and the water can stay, but the food will only last 24 hours and it's a 3rd level spell. So yes, we can, my guess is like we can say that if somebody reminds her if we're going to sleep, she could, and you know, she has the magical capability, she will do it so that we can be covered. But like, I don't think it's going to be assumption that we have it all the time.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of resources to burn.
Okay, I guess we gotta do some fucking hunting. What's up?
Yeah. Another cool thing about this is that if you guys all are completely full, like completely quenched, energized, and at a good temperature, it actually removes one exhaustion. So that means if you're feeling really good,
Vic, like, excuse me,
we will actually help with that. So,
wait, it sounds like that means. It sounds like that means I can stop sleeping again and it'll be fine. Like,
stop.
We are going to like dogpile you at night.
We're
gonna have to sleep. You have to stay here.
We're gonna find a spell scroll for a Wasteland and sleep just to cast on you.
I need you to know that like a big thing that was like in my head our last session was like, am I going to have to physically knock Tazriel out to get him to sleep? I was considering violence. That's how bad it is.
I'm gonna donk you.
I was like, what a very cheeky question for our DM.
Yeah.
Getting back in line for what the primary mission of this channel is, which is where does other types of physical satisfaction fall on the happiness scale? How does that help?
Yeah, should I add?
Can we fuck to remove exhaustion?
We could just call it comfort. You know?
I could be convinced to have that fall under fatigue. In that, if you want to get the well-rested condition instead of sleeping, you could have another form of. No, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
You could just take a nap.
I mean, will Taz rather do this than sleep? Absolutely.
You have to fuck.
This is called. We're data collect right now. Okay.
Pooja sitting in like sitting on the armchair of the DM seat, going "Fuck for your dinner, little men. Fuck for your dinner."
What is happening? Good day.
Okay, we get back.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
you've gathered your supplies, everything like that. Any other preparations you wanted to make? You don't spend any rations for today because you've already paid for food and breakfast and anything like that. So. Anything you just wanted to gather or talk to the B&B keepers about before you set up?
Not those things, but I did do some weird science last night, and I wanted to check up on the success of that before we leave.
Certainly. You were engaging with your bug carcass in certain ways. Is that correct?
I was pulling it apart and looking at all of the goop and the goons.
What information are you trying to determine from this bug? Are you just learning about its anatomy?
Okay. Yes. And I think the two things, or the things that Oasia's really trying to see is they want to get as much of an understanding of how this anatomy might differ from regular anatomy of insectoids by virtue of being larger, if this is like an effect of the wild that has caused them to become bigger, if there is any type of like metamorphosis or what's the word that happens with nuclear radiation?
Like irradiated.
When something like become mutation. Yes, thank you. Anything like that, essentially. Like, has the wild exerted on these things, or is this like a slow hundreds, thousands of years of like evolutionary change, rather? Like, was this fast or was this slow,
Those are some great questions. Will you give me, this could be either dexterity-based in how well you're taking it apart, or intelligence-based in terms of how much information you can gain from it. And it could either be nature. I think nature is most likely. So either give me a dexterity-based nature check or a intelligence-based nature check. Meaning, again, if you're proficient in nature, you can add your proficiency to either dex or intelligence.
Okay. I'll do the nature check. I have to roll digitally because I can't find my dice. So I'll find them in a minute.
Yeah.
Let's see, please don't fail me, D&D Beyond. You failed me, D&D Beyond. That's a 10. Bummer. Okay, that's a 10.
That's fine. You asked me a lot of questions, and it's a pretty big bug. So you're not. I would say that since you didn't roll dexterity, you're going to gain information from this, but you are not perfectly preserving the specimen to then use later. So you still gain information, but
that's fair.
Like, in trying to take it apart, you make a bit of a mess, basically.
Sorry.
So
there's like an organ that's as soon as you open up, like
I think that happens.
Well, they kind of have a tendency to,
Yeah. I think Oasia's like cracking this shit open and then maybe has like a moment of clarity as it's a little messier than they think. And they like look up at Neve that night and is like, why don't you go get us something to eat?
Should have put a top down.
Neve, I think Neve has not, like, you look up and Neve was here at one point. You look up to
Neve has left. Ooh,
Neve is not there.
Yeah, that's so fair. I appreciate that.
Just like downstairs, repairing a bit of a skirt hem or something. So Awaish, this does not seem to be mutation. It doesn't seem to be something that comes from the wild. There are no signs of, like, stretching in limbs, or that this thing grew unnaturally fast. And as far as you know, you're not necessarily a scholar of natural things, but I think you have a reason in the past to have been interested in bugs. Like,
Yes.
you would have researched them.
I was a bug girl at one point.
You were a bug girl at one point. You had the interest, right? So the anatomy is not deeply out of order for a tick or a mosquito, except for the fact that it stores even more than its size. Like, the reason that these things would be considered medium creatures is that they can store enough blood to suck a medium creature dry. They just get so big, basically. But the majority of the anatomy is not like a ton of complex interior. It's just that they might make really good, like, water sacs, for example, if you could figure out a way to stop them from bursting with any kind of provocation.
It would make a good one if I hadn't destroyed this thing.
If you hadn't destroyed this thing. Also, again, this was kind of like a squished or preserved specimen, like a half-hatched one that you were looking at to get some information, which is why it's helpful to know that it doesn't seem mutated. It seems likely that these are a kind of bug that has developed in response to large prey in the area. Like, over time, the kind of prey that you would find in the waste is just that much larger, and therefore, these creatures are that much larger.
Makes sense.
They're not particularly the kind of bugs that these are. They seem very designed for, like, this one urge, which is thirst, and pulling the lifeblood from others. So there's not a ton of information that is helpful to you about, like, certain kinds of pollution, right? Or, like, the nature of even living with some bug-like features. But, I don't know, I guess the one thing that would be particularly fascinating to you is that, as someone who enjoys using the resources of both other spellcasters and other creatures, I wouldn't say there's, like, a kindred or a solidarity here, but you just get this sense of this is all that these things are made to do, and they are particularly good at it. So, I don't know. If you feel like there's something to learn there, like creatures that are very good at taking blood from others, maybe it relates the most to, like, some of your spells.
So what I'm hearing is Awaish will be taking Vampiric Touch sometime soon.
Something like that. Yeah, this would be
okay.
a good study there.
Good shit. Thank you. That's all for me before we leave.
Yes, novel.
While everyone is doing their pack up, I think Barden probably wouldn't have taken anything out of their bag anyway, so they're taking some time to do some letter writing.
Yes.
So they're getting all their writing done while they're somewhere dry, without anything raining on them. But also, so there's going to be one to Mountain, one to Folkley, one to Siren, and one to SK. But while they're doing that, they do kind of ask Cree, just like, excuse me, can I bother you for a second? If that's
Certainly.
okay. I've heard about your stony problem.
Yes.
I know someone who's quite interested in things like this, discovering answers, and I'd like to write to him about this problem. It might be that he could have some answers for you. He's Siren Silverhawk of the Tomb Loft back in Skyholm. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a vast library.
Never heard of it.
Of course, no one's been everywhere. But if it would be helpful, I can't imagine.
We've written to a number of places seeking answers, so if you think you might have someone.
Yeah, if I can, and she's gonna give them a piece of paper. Like, if you could just write just generally what happened, the situation.
I'm sorry, I can neither read nor write.
I can absolutely write that for you. Is that okay? I can
certainly.
dictate. Yeah, okay.
So Cree gives you a few details.
She would take that time, like everyone else bustling around her.
Yeah. The name of the tiefling who has been petrified was Tenderness. this was an sort of an uncle, like an older uncle to not a number of nieces and nephews, but someone who would like come over and watch some of the Duergar family when they were growing up a little bit. One of the longer lived tieflings, of course. And he encountered not a basilisk or a medusa, but rather some kind of wild creature that had previously eaten a basilisk, supposedly deep in the wastes, and then was brought back by a hunting party and sold back to them, basically, as a statue. So there is difficulty in restoring for some reason. They're not sure of, and they don't have the information, because it seems like he was not deliberately turned by a creature, but rather caught the appearance of like a basilisk or a medusa head, they're not sure, in the wastes while fleeing from another creature.
And just to double check, you mean wild with a Y?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's very interesting, and I'm sure that'd be helpful. We have such a vast library, and my friend, he is very interested in strange things.
If it's worth noting, we've tried
oh yes, please tell
certain
me what you've tried.
oils
Okay.
that normally would remove this kind of effect, and they have not been.
Okay. I imagine since it would be, bit past, it's not quite wild, it's something else, there must be a different answer. Okay, if I'll send that to him, I expect, send some letters, get the information about where to send the letter to, because they're in the freaking inn. But just like, I hope this could be helpful. I can't imagine what it's like to have someone frozen like that. Stuck
Thank
in
you.
time. Terrible.
Unfortunately, Barden, with some of your knowledge, although you think Siren might have a better idea for it, after a certain point, it is quite hard to restore someone who's been petrified, so that length of time might also contribute. Like, you're not sure how much is even left in there of who used to be. But
I think
maybe
she
you would know.
says that in a kind way, just being like, I don't know if you can't, but it doesn't hurt to look into it.
We've heard
Yeah,
that from many
so-
people.
I understand. Just
Thank you.
if I can help. That's what I do.
Appreciated.
Of course. Thank you. Have an amazing day. The food was amazing. Just continues
Yes.
finishing off letters. And before they head out, like, plonks the one to SK on Taz's, like, chest and be like, I know I haven't done this in a while, but there you go. That's for your friend. Okay, let's get going. Just tucks everything else away, waits for
Great.
next time they get to a post.
The nice thing about this B&B is that they do have a very old and skinny looking owl in the tool shed who can carry mail to a post by Deep Sink, and then transfer it along the coast.
Oh.
You won't be able to guard it, like you won't be able to protect it, and the owl can not carry packages, only letters.
Fuck. Never mind.
I think I'll wait.
Stupid owl.
Also, I don't want to go up to an owl and have it flip out at me.
Fair.
I love him. He's
Especially
not
with
stupid.
a freaking monster hunter around. I'm not doing that.
He's special and good.
Thank you.
Are you
I want to
talking,
say,
Sloan?
Oh, mute. Still muted.
Bye,
muted.
Sloan. No talking
Yeah, he's still
aloud.
muted. Come back. Bye, Sloan.
No, they know. I think it's like something different. It's not like a.
person.
not for my-
Can you hear me?
Yes, you are.
Sorry, my inputs are getting fucky, which is great. I had a great thing that I was. Oh wait, no. Can't you just say Siren and he'll show up because he's fucking nosy and he's like he'll have a little scry ball come in. You just say Siren. I bet he already knows.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh my god, summon him like Bloody Mary. Let's go.
I
Siren,
think
Siren,
only-
Siren. Come fix this.
only Awaish knows that right now, right?
Yeah.
No one else knows that.
I'm pretty
Yeah, I
sure
know.
we've.
Trouble doesn't.
Didn't the thing
It's
pop
hard
up in front
to.
of
You
us?
can't. You can't sense scrying eyes, I don't think. There's something funky
Oh
about
yeah,
them.
only Darren can see them because a scrying orb only appears via like blind sight or detect magic. They're not something that actively appears. It's just when you cast the scry spell, the orb appears, I think like in the astral plane or something, right? So it's not like eyes open. It's more that Siren has a little like notification.
Yeah, I know the
like a
sensor.
Google search
I know
set.
the sensor is invisible.
Yeah.
I just thought that Barden carried one of his things, you know?
Ah,
That's like something he can see through. That's just a way for him to keep tabs on stuff. It isn't. I don't know that he does that.
Yeah.
I thought it was a gift.
yes. So to clarify, this is something that's a little sketchy about Siren. He has the ability to, when his name is said around a symbol of a silver eye, he has created some kind of customized like enchantment that means that he will know when someone says his name or certain other words around a silver eye. So it's not that he's scrying through the silver eyes themselves, and it's not that he knows when people are talking about them. It's like a specific set of circumstances that then alerts him. And then if he wants to cast scry, he can do so on that person or through that eye because it's an object he's familiar with.
He's like the beholding. This is like TMA stuff, looking through eyes. Love it.
I've just gotten to that part. It's so good.
So certainly if you said his name a bunch of times, that might catch his interest, but you'd have to know to do that. And Novel right now doesn't. So if you're just like mentioning him, imagining that Novel occasionally talks about like, oh, back home, Siren talked about this book, he might not scry on her every single time she does that.
Yeah. Novel loves their uncle, so they probably talk about him a lot. He's probably used to it. It's just like, ignore, snooze. Vic, were you going to say something? No? Okay. You're muted.
Yep. Hi. Yeah, I think that when Novel like gave Taz the note for SK and like walked off, there was very much like this look of like, am I gonna keep doing this on his face or not? But gone pretty fast.
Okay. You got letters. Then, yes, Awaish.
I was just going to say, I also feel like it's significant to note, Awaish has seen this happen, does not know these specifics that Alex has just explained. The most that they know is that like a scry appeared at one point when his name was mentioned, and they got something to block it for themselves. Like that's the extent of their knowledge.
Yeah, that is fair to note that I've communicated to you guys as players that this character does something that is unorthodox, i.e. spying. And that might make people uncomfortable. None of the party currently have the knowledge that this is happening, and it's certainly something that you could bring up to Siren if you did have that knowledge, because it is what it is, like a weird thing. Great. So you've loaded up your cart, your companions, you've kind of bustled up a little bit. It's slightly snowing again today, not ongoing, but like occasionally things will trickle down. You've got the gray clouds awaiting you that are becoming more and more a familiar sight here in Valkyrie. And then Laura emerges with her brothers, who are carrying some loaded packages with them. Seems like perhaps they've also loaded up on food. Can you hear me? Yeah. And Aldris as well. Kind of standing companionably silent by the three of them. Well, four of them.
Is your friend joining us?
He has decided to renege on some of his travel arrangements to travel with us a little bit further. It seems as though... Am I correct in saying that your quarry has chosen a different direction? Yes. Previously it was traveling up the coast and for some reason has turned around, making its way back towards the main body of the continent.
Our party's getting a little big. I didn't anticipate you bringing anybody else with you, Laura.
12 people is a large number for the wastes.
And
I can travel separately if the rest of you would prefer, Laura says. I mean, me and my group.
fuck.
Oh. I'm sure it'll be fine. You know, more the merrier. Is it really that dangerous to have such a large group? You know, more hands to the wagon? Kind of looking at Vice.
It depends. We are not in the worst of the waste, so certainly there are more travelers in this area. And we are heading to the same location, but do not consider you would be part of any maneuvers we make. If we must leave you behind, then so be it. We will not be waiting for you.
I think that's a good compromise.
I am consistently calling this guy Silverfucko in my head. What's his real name again?
Aldris.
Aldris.
Aldris. Aldris.
Aldris Quar.
Also, in oh, sorry.
Aldris, you seem to be quite accomplished as a lone hunter. How do you work in groups?
Just fine.
Seems a fair compromise.
I will not be obtrusive.
In the group chat, Novel, you can hear Novel, not Barden, just like, it is better to keep track of those that may hunt us. Yes? Better to know where he is than not.
Easier to
And we
dispose of him.
Maybe.
And we may learn what he is hunting if he does not suspect us of strangeness. You know? And then
Wish-
Barton just like,
Yeah, does ask, you mentioned that this hag you're hunting is changing its course. It wouldn't by any chance be altering its plans to track you, would it?
It's not exactly
A what? Sorry, Alex.
It's not exactly a hag.
Right. My question does still stand, though.
Have you ever heard of soul transference?
I think I have, but that might just be Sarah.
That's dark magic.
Okay, no.
I mean, you might have heard of it if only to be like, you can put your soul in something else? That's fucked up.
Sure, yeah, like spooky stories at a college of like, and then he was cask of amontillado inside his own urn forever. So, big shit. Why?
If a creature were to remove parts of its identity and place them into other things, people or animals, they might be then subject to the whims or instincts of the vehicle they've chosen.
Is this soul that you're speaking of someone you have a personal relationship with?
No.
But the soul is what you're hunting?
Soul is what I've attempted to destroy multiple times.
is that something I've heard of in any mythology or anything that Siren would be interested in?
Can I roll?
Yeah, roll it, baby.
Okay, give me.
I bet Novel sat like by
What
his desk
is-
as he's looked up weird shit.
What is your Arcana, Novel?
My
Do you have a plus for Arcana?
Arcana. Okay, let me look. Da, da, da. +5.
Yes. Siren. It's not something he ever would have told you about, but the tomb loft is large enough and its collections esoteric enough that certain material has found its way there, to the point where you might have been warned by Siren not to touch certain things, with a brusque mention of sometimes people put themselves into objects and then get very angry about the fact that they're trapped in them. So I would not give them a conduit to express that anger to you by touching them.
Okay. I think passes that into the group chat.
Mm-hmm. As interesting as all of this is, and I can't believe that I am the one saying this, but I'm not quite so interested in the information of your quarry as I am the threat that it poses towards us. If it were to turn course and make aim for you.
Have no worry.
I'll
I've
take
killed
your
this thing
promise
3
on
times.
that.
You can.
And Weish will back down.
Kiara, are you, how do you feel about this person traveling with all of you? Have you had any response to it so far?
Has been watching this ping pong game, basically. And ultimately, I think afterwards she'll say, like, I don't love the idea of him being with us just because, well, frankly, he gives me the heebie-jeebies. But I don't know if that's a good enough reason to tell somebody to fuck off.
1 GB and possibly 2 Hebes. So gotta keep watch on those.
Yeah.
Seems perfectly calculated to give off both a Hebe and a JP.
I love the idea of Vice saying that so much. Vice saying heebie-jeebies is like...
Well,
if
Vice is in the group chat, she could say that.
Matthias,
I don't think she's doing it.
Matthias says, I think that's a perfectly good reason.
But so then what do we do?
I agree with Novel. I dislike the idea of this person traveling with us. But what I dislike more is the possibility of him being around and me not being able to keep an eye on him.
Better to know where there's spiders than to see it hide. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Just hauling stuff onto the cart, putting everything
All right.
away, and also pointing out to Matthias the bits where she fixed it, or she got the bits fixed on the. Like, I'm so sorry it got fucked, but I tried. Look,
No, it's working great.
we just need some oil. It'll be fine.
Now, we're going to begin a journey. So I want to check if people would like a little 5-minute break here before we set off on our journey, because we're going to be probably going over a series of, like, a longer period of time here.
Who find
Yeah.
my dice?
Okay, let's take 5, get some tea, and then we'll see you back here in a little bit.
Oh my god. Okay.
You're back. Bye.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome back. You guys ready to stronger? Can you believe this is
Hell
our
yeah.
60th episode? 60 episodes?
We're basically
Am I right
dead.
about that? We're basically dead.
We're basically dead. I can't believe I've been strungering sadly with all of you for so long.
For so long.
In the end,
Alex, I said this off stream, but I'm saying it on stream. When we set off, Matthias, like, you know, people start moving. Matthias stands there with watching, waiting for them to go past. He's walking in the back. Silver Fucko is walking in front of him.
This poor guy. All right, I'm just gonna kind of put you down here in the woods with your cart, like a little travel monologue. To leaving the house. Goodbye.
Bye, house.
Bye.
Bye, house.
Oh my god,
Leave.
immediately, Sarah, someone in the board said, Maddie's staring at that ass. Fucking Christ!
Hey.
That's exactly what Sarah said. No, I don't trust this guy. I don't fucking trust him and I don't like
They
him.
don't trust him, so you
gotta
really gotta give it a
good
snare.
look at that ass. You really want to make sure.
It's safe.
Yeah.
That ass is dangerous.
That ass has committed war crimes.
You know,
Yeah.
Aldrich is a little more caked up than you thought he would be.
I hate that. I hate that.
Oh
I'm
no,
fine with
he's
this.
caked.
He looks
I love
old
it.
as an Eladrin. This motherfucker is like 1,000 years
he
old
looks-
at least.
Who cares?
Less,
We're all
he's
adults.
not like super wrinkly. He's just more like super fucked up. Like his face looks like it's being pulled apart. So he looks old that
He's-
way.
Look, he's already hot. Like, you gave him ass. Like, how are we meant to resist
But it's
this?
not. Listen, it's not bootylicious. He just has a visible ass. You know, like you can just
Arden
see it.
still has the
Except
best
for
ass.
The fact
That's
that
the only
he's
thing I need to
poor.
know.
Me? You've
about
got
to
two.
No, I was cake. Yeah.
I'm just sorry. On behalf of Melanin here, I gotta say something for Kiara and Taz.
Kiara,
Sir.
Kiara obviously has the best butt naturally. Like, Novel is his fake ass.
Taz has got a good butt.
All I gotta say is the art of Awaish is fake news. There's not that much ass there.
We're all aware. that
Someone's
Novel's
gotta
using,
represent the small ass community in this fucking party.
Novel's using changeling powers to make their ass so bootylicious.
Oh my god, are you doing that live?
It expands every time
Yeah.
you look away.
With every step, we just get.
It's a change. What is a change something? But a body slider whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in my home game,
Factory.
in my home game, I have a changeling, and that's what I did. I was like, there's all these like 6'4" boys around, and then when my changeling leaned off the wall, suddenly he was 6 inches taller.
Okay, I've arranged all of you kind of here. Let me get rid of the cauldron. On multiverse, I gotta find Laura somewhere.
Fucking Laura. All Laura does is make my life difficult.
It's very
I'm mad at
confusing to me when y'all start cursing at my wife.
Oh.
They're not cursing at you, just a character named Laura.
In the freaking room.
Definitely spelled different.
Laura,
I
I love you.
Oh, I
Laura
also realized
Pooja's
their
wife, we
names
love
are
her.
Stod. They're like Lostod or something because they're all Stodcrest. So it's like
Ah.
that's what they're.
I think
named for.
Awaish is like sticking closer to Neve than normal in terms of like party composition, because in the same way that Matthias is keeping this person in front and watching is like, this bitch gets a hag near us. Jesus Christ.
Why?
Not exactly a hag.
Why did Laura fucking bring a monster hunter into a party full of freaks? I'm
Listen,
dying.
You are in fact in the wastes. A monster hunter is like the #1 good guy to have around when you're traveling.
That's your classic job.
Yeah, Pooja?
Here's the question I have for Sloan. How visibly distressed is Matthias?
Great question.
How clenched? How much diamond is being made right now?
Immensely clenched. Super fucking
Okay.
clenched.
In that
He's
case,
getting
Kiara,
clenched.
he's getting clenched. Kiara will hang back with Matthias, not to like chat, because I can tell that he's very focused, and if anything, at one point she might just be like, Matthias, you might consider unfurrowing the brow just a little.
He looks over at you, and it is like a murder expression that does like lift when you say it to him, and he just kind of like shakes his head and just says, "I'm sorry, I don't like this person."
I mean, and I think we're talking mentally just to be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kiara will say, I don't either, but hey, if he decides to pose a danger to Novel, we will just kill him. We've killed scarier things, right?
I'm concerned about other casualties that could happen as a result of that. And he sort of gestures to Laura and their brothers. My first meeting with Laura wasn't under the best of circumstances, but I sort of felt like we were able to be a little bit more comfortable. I felt more comfortable around them. And this has really... I don't feel that anymore.
They brought somebody who could pose an active danger to our party into our traveling group. I think if things come to a head, they will have a choice to make. But I don't think that's something that we need to be concerned about right now. We know what we will do if things go wrong.
He unclenches a little bit.
An inch, an iota. Okay, we begin.
Kiara, surprisingly great with murder, apparently. Surprising to
me
me
too,
too.
Actually,
It's
weird.
self-defense.
Yeah,
It's self-defense.
No, it's the you come after my bug, I kill.
Okay. Now you are traveling from Rockhaven to Mont Ulior, which is your final destination. The route that you're taking is meant to be approximately 5 days or so, if there are not any difficulties, since you will be traveling between the mountains. It's technically a closer distance than you've traveled previously, but you have to travel through mountain passes in order to get there, because you are beginning to scale up in elevation. And Mont Ulior is not the closest mountain in the range, but rather you have to pass through another series of mountains into kind of a snow-laden valley, and then up a little bit to where the order sits at the base of Mont Ulior. You have your cart, a horse, and 2 goats. The rest of you are walking or riding in the cart. Now, the dwarves also have their own animals that they've brought with them. They've mostly been walking in order to allow their supplies to be carried by these, sort of short, stout, sheep-like things that they've brought, but occasionally they will ride on them, and then give them a break and let them walk by themselves. We've gathered up everyone. Our journeys, each day is broken up into 6 parts. We've got dawn, morning, noon, afternoon, dusk, and night. We've already left behind dawn, so it is morning. This is when you're going to begin traveling. Are you guys do you want to travel slow, medium, or fast? Medium is like the day pace. Slow, again, lets you be stealthy. Fast, a little bit less stealthy, and maybe a little bit harder to scout or collect food along the way.
Given what you've just told us about tracking resources, I feel like we should go at a medium pace.
Let's go at a
Let's
medium
book it.
pace.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so day 1, you're traveling at a medium pace. You've eaten breakfast and packed camp. As the sun rises, it becomes a touch warmer. Not by much, of course, but enough that, again, you're not in the deep freezing cold. You can pull your hood back. The wind isn't whipping at you, causing you incredible discomfort, and there's a bit of a glare off of some of the snow that surrounds you. Now, you are still on the continent itself. It's not completely covered in snow everywhere. Occasionally you will see hard-packed frozen earth, or even frozen water in certain places. It's also a bit more open as you begin to rise up in elevation. You're leaving behind some of the tree cover, although you are still traveling through trees. I would love... I've got some things to assign to people, so I want to know who is scouting for us today. Who is making perception checks? This is going to be one person this time, so... We've got the 4 roles that I have in this new journey mechanic that I'm using. We've got a guide. This is the person who makes sure that you're on course. We've got a forager. So this is someone who might, along the way, look for food and water. You could forage if you're traveling slow or medium. You've got a scout. So this is looking out for danger. And you've got a lookout. So someone who looks out at before nighttime to make sure the area is safe. So guide, forager, scout, and lookout. Who would like to be my guide? This is survival, cartography, that kind of thing.
I feel like I know the area. Can I guide from the back?
You can guide from the back.
Great.
You're just telling people which direction to pick.
Yep.
Right,
Guide to the
so
back, baby.
I've got my guide to be Matthias. Who's going to be the forager? Someone who might be looking out for food and water. Novel?
I want to.
Perfect. You've been doing some of that. And then the scout, person who ranges ahead during the day's travel, keeps an eye out for dangers.
Kiara should be none of these things, let's be real.
Oh, wait.
I can do it if Taz doesn't want to do it, or I can do the next one.
I want to remind y'all, Taz still had disadvantage on all ability checks.
Yeah.
Okay. I will keep an eye out for danger then.
Yeah,
Always
Okay.
Just
Taz will
don't here.
scout. Wait.
Keep in mind, if you would like to, you can also assign vice to any of these, if you're interested.
Hell yeah. We could have Vice. If Kiara should not be on any of these, we could always have Vice look out for the place at the end of the night.
Like, Kiara is not trained in perception or survival, but
Sure.
they are a wise person.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not the worst.
Great. And then finally, the lookout, to make sure that the camp is in a good location. You want to have Vice do lookout for today?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just feel like somebody
Sure.
with proficiency in
In
the
what?
skill should be
That's
doing
fair.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense.
Okay. Great. So traveling at a medium pace, you travel 15 miles per day. You have guiding your mate at normal, foraging at disadvantage, scouting at normal, and hiding tracks at normal as well. So let's have Matthias, could you give me a survival check? If you're trained with cartography tools, you can add, you can roll with those as well.
I got a 19 on my survival.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That is a success for you. Novel, could you give me, for a foraging roll at disadvantage, I'm going to have this either be survival or perception.
I think I'll do Persepi because that's a 6. That's a +6 compared to a +3.
Okay. Excellent.
Oh, that's a 1.
Woof.
That's still
One.
a 7, but it's a 1. That's nothing.
Interesting.
I'm not gonna waste an inspiration on that.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
is-
we are fed today at least.
We are fed.
you are fed. But you are not going to find anything
Barden
useful.
treads on the only thing that looked edible and just.
Yes, unfortunately so. You realize that perhaps some roots or like
Mm.
someone had dropped some seeds at some point along the path and you just kind of tread through them. Like,
Damn it.
sorry. Okay, and then let's see the guide. We have already rolled for the scout. That is Awaish. Awaish, would
Yes.
you give me a perception check?
Hot perception. Okay, I got my dice during the break.
You got this.
Whoa. That's a 7 on the die, but 13.
13. Okay, that is a success that determines the encounters for the day, and then obviously the lookout will be towards the evening. So, as the sun is at its peak towards noon, your group takes a short break to sit in the shade and rest your feet for a moment. Your dwarven companions begin to drink lightly, not carousing yet, but just as they share food together.
Pre-carouse.
And one of them looks over to you. Let's say that this is Karstad. That might not have been his name previously, but it can be for the time being. Karstad looks over to your group and says, "Bet I can drink more than you."
At us?
Yes.
Wish just puts up a thumb and goes back to what they were doing.
If that's a challenge, I think maybe it might be better met under different circumstances. And he gestures to the wastes around them.
Maybe some walls. You know.
We're such wet blankets.
Yeah.
You are such wet blankets.
I don't think you could beat me.
Oh, God.
Taz. No.
Do it with disadvantage.
Tazriel, he stands up and grins through this big, puffy, dark beard and steps over to his sheep, which is carrying these two, like, cylindrical things, puts his mug under it and just opens a crank, and ale pours out from the carrier, taps it off, and passes it to you.
It's kind of like
groans a little bit, like.
I think he's very much like he's still recuperating. Like he does, like y'all say, it doesn't look like he's on death's door, but he's not as useful for like the scouting until he gets a little bit more better. Yeah. So he's just like, all right, I guess, like in his head, but it's like, okay, I'll do this.
Is it
Alex,
evening now? Is that what's happening? We're at camp, or are we literally walking? And he's like,
it's noon, and you're taking like a.
Got it. Great.
A light.
This is a good time for this. Love it.
Just a quick little.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Kiara did have a question. If he was offering ale, Kiara would be like, you will definitely defeat me, but I would still totally take one drink. And
yes, sure.
And then what Kiara's gonna do is, I was reading about this earlier, is gonna go full medieval style and make this like a hot malted ale, like kind of the beer version of like a cider. And I just think it'd be a nice warming little beverage. Mulled wine's a thing. This is like the beer equivalent.
Arden is definitely gonna like scoot over and just like, could I have a little sip? That looks really good.
Of course.
Thank you.
As long as you're not cheating.
Oh, we're not competing.
All right.
You didn't clarify. That's on you.
Tazriel
takes a little step and gives Kiara a little kiss.
As you drink from this bubbly ale that they've brought with them, could you roll a D100 for me?
A D100?
Bro, what the fuck is this? What the fuck?
If you don't have one, I have one.
I got my big boys. Alex, I was prepared for you to say roll a Constitution saving throw. I was like, okay, I'm not bad at those. A D100, a 9.
A 9. Okay. As you sip back from this, it's a little bit, it's been stirred up by the travel motion, so it's a little bit like, bubbly in your throat. You are reminded of a game that you like to play. Would you tell me what game did Tazriel like to play in college?
What game did Taz like to play in college?
Strip poker.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Ring of Fire. Oh, that would work.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong though?
Taz doesn't play poker, so you're a little bit wrong on that. I think
strip our card games, whatever they are.
You know what? I'm gonna go in and say Taz like to play whatever the fantasy equivalent is of spades.
Ooh.
Yeah. A little black guy.
I love that. I would say that there are a number of card games. It might not be and it might not have been called spades. It'd probably be called something, like the Raj equivalent. So maybe like you'd call it flames or something, which is just the cards are different sizes of like light and bright, and so you're trying to
the higher the number, you get a blue flame.
Something like that. Yeah. And so as you drink this down, it's cold. Certainly Kiara can warm it. And maybe a little nauseating since you've been traveling for so long. You've gotten a bit of food in you, but there's just like that common, I've been walking, and now suddenly I've put a lot of alcohol into my body and I feel a little weird. But you managed to get down at least one or two of these big tankards of ale without making a fool of yourself. Kiara and Barden, you guys are having some sips.
Yeah. We're doing more of the hearty, fortifying drink. Yeah. This is definitely more for the warming benefits, the cozy vibes than the alcohol content.
Okay. I'm not going to have you roll a d100. These are just some, again, I'm using some cool new journey rules. And so some of the encounter seeds that they offer are related to like character ideas or things that have happened in the past for you guys to talk about, which is very neat.
Question for Taz. Do you mention Flames, the game of Flames, out loud?
Yeah. I think Taz would.
In which case, Kiara is going to pick up something that's never been used off of her character sheet, which is that she carries a playing card set with her.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, she does.
Yeah, so if you mention Flames, Kiara will be like, oh wait, we can play! And pulls out a playing card set, and we can have a little bit of cards and as we have a drink.
I take back what I said about the wet blanket.
Do you know how to play Flames? Which brother is this?
This is Karstad.
Karstad.
We have a similar equivalent, yeah.
Okay.
I got it. Okay.
For this, we're just all gonna roll a d12 and see who gets the highest.
Awesome.
Do it.
D12, you said?
Is this everybody? Or just the people?
Just Kiara, Tazriel, and Karstad.
I'm definitely like, oh.
You got a 7?
Mm-hmm.
And a 5? What's that?
Oh, a 10.
A 10? He got a 9. So you all flip your cards over, and you see the familiar bright blue flame, Tazriel. Not the brightest, but...
Nice. I will count that as a drink and say we're even, eh?
Even's even.
Okay. You wrap up your lunch. You continue traveling for the rest of the afternoon. The sun descends a bit. The temperature begins to cool off. You're pressing on to finish the second half of your travel while you still have some natural light. Again, you're still moving up through elevation, and it's only the first day, so you haven't quite reached the mountains yet. You will probably reach them tomorrow. Matthias, as the guide, you are looking for something called a balak, which is a route through the mountains here in the wastes. There is a long kind of valley mountain pass that you travel through to get to Mount Ulior. Some mountain passes, right, are just like kind of short and brief, like you're traveling through the saddle of the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
The two mountains that sit to the side of Mount Ulior have a bit of a longer stretch between them. I guess you kind of go down into a bit of a valley between peaks, and then Mount Ulior is set between the two of them. You are looking to put Mount Aisha to your left, and you've got Mount Little and Big Orthus to your right. So these are just like a few names in the Gale Peaks of these mountains that you're traveling through that you would be familiar with your little map that you've got for this area.
Little map.
So there's some fun little stories perhaps you are exchanging with your traveling companions. Since you said you were specifically looking out for Aldris, he's a quiet person who doesn't seem to be talking a lot as he's traveling, but very much keeping his head on a swivel. Occasionally, at some points, he steps off to the side of the path, leaves you for maybe 5 minutes at most, and then travels back. Particularly seems to be looking at animal prints since you're watching. I think Oish probably also notices this, or maybe everyone does, since Barden is also kind of like stepping off and occasionally looking for roots or animal tracks as well.
I think Novel's in particular trying to find roots because knowing that Kiara can't eat meat, that like I'm going to try and make sure I find vegetarian options for my friend because I know I can hunt, but finding vegetarian options is going to be harder. Also, as it starts to get darker, I think Barden has a moment of, do I light my fireflies or should I just actually, if I imagine the group chat isn't still on, but
no, that was only for 6 hours.
Yeah, desperately wants to, but just in the end, it's like if I do magic, it will show that I can't see, and half-orcs can see in the dark. What the fuck do I do? And so instead, just as it starts to get darker, just like strokes the hilt of Titan's Wrath and just and starts to glow in that 10-foot, but because it's partly covered, it's just a bit of light. So it's just like enough to see by like a 5-foot radius, maybe. And then just keeps going.
Companions also light a series of shielded lanterns that they place on the back of their sheep. So these are like half-cover lanterns, just oil lamps. They're not enchanted or anything, that just shine light around the animals' feet as they're walking. Awaish, since you are keeping an eye out here, as it grows darker, one of the last things that you see before you kind of lose the shades of color is that you are passing through a glade of trees that are a bit less lively looking, just kind of drooping a bit. Seems like maybe the ground here is less fertile as you're moving into the mountains, so you've got a bit less cover as the snow's coming down a little bit harder. Some of them are leaking sap in certain places that's frozen, which is creating a bit of an interesting appearance. Maybe it's a different tree type. But you get just a bit less cover as you're moving the cars through towards the end of the day.
Cool. I'll make note of that to the party. I also will just scrape off a little bit of that sap if I can reach it.
Sure. As you're traveling along, you can scrape a bit off with a dagger or even your staff, whatever you would like. And it is underneath the like frozen, crystallized side. Smells surprisingly good. It's that like really fresh pine sap smell that's very pleasant.
Nice. Good to know. Just kind of wrap it in a piece of cloth because I imagine it's pretty it freezes pretty quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. And go further.
If any of you were like soap makers or something like that, you could imagine that these trees would be a useful resource for that kind of pleasant scent.
Oh, go ahead, Sloan.
No,
I was gonna say
soap.
I thought they said so. Kiara would probably try to grab some foliage of assorted foliage to weave into the little flower crowns and like other things that they like to do for their keeping hands busy times.
You could ask Barden. Barden will collect some for you. Like they fuck up food, but they can get some pine.
Arts and crafts materials.
Kiara, you are still a bit of a younger person in certain ways. As you go out and begin to collect foliage, Neves comes and joins you, the three of you who are kind of like on the side of the path. Since you had noticed Awaish going and collecting, some of the pine needles that you get begin to stick to your hands a little bit, like they've got some of this sap on it. So, Nee just like scrapes her hands down the bark of one of these trees, trying to get the needles off. But there's joy in this moment, right?
After fully allowing Neve to do that, as long as she would like, Kiara would then just be like, I can also help with that. And Kiara will prestidigitate Neve's hands.
I just hate the sensation of things sticking to me.
I know. It's like, stick to yourself, not to me. I hate that. Yeah. But, yeah. Well, anytime you've got, things glued to your hands you don't want to be, I can help.
Thank you. Just hate that.
Barden, absolutely the same. Just as soon as they get that sort of sticky sensation, they're like, Kiara, could you get this off me?
And Kiara would do that.
It.
And then Kiara's gonna start weaving things with the pine, and just as they're walking, go and like tie some into Matthias's like leather straps in the armor. That shit gets smelly.
Definitely does.
It looks pretty.
Boy, you
stop, babe.
Get some
But also
his armor. Sona's definitely said he takes care of it, but it still smells like armor oil.
Well, yeah, our armor oil. Plus, like, I just imagine we all did just take baths, sure, but this is also preventative. Like, just having it's like putting some nice smelling essential oils or something on things, so that when it will help camouflage when inevitably we're going to be in these for days and not be able to bathe,
and also maybe hunted by something.
And it won't just be Matthias. Like, it'll, like, Taz, like, everybody who wants some will get some, just to kind of help us all smell better.
Thank you.
I'll take some of those as well.
Handed it off. Yeah, because I just imagine, like, it's, like, basic, like, daisy chains and, like, other, like, just tying twigs together, just making little cute cottagecore bundles in the waist.
Very cottagecore.
Very cottagecore. Post this first day, as the sun begins to set, Vice is looking out for your camp. The sun sinks beneath the horizon and the sky darkens towards dusk. Time to set up camp for the night, eat, and reflect on your travel. So you have made your guidance check, which means you stayed on the right path, Matthias. The forager unfortunately did not gather any food or water supplies. You're going to eat some food and drink some water. So I would love for everyone just to mark off a ration from their supplies if they have them. Again, I'm not actively tracking hunger and thirst yet.
I'll give Kiara one of my rations because I have more than I think I should. So I think that'll work out.
I just don't know how many we've used.
Yeah.
And how many we started off with, because, like, once again, not a resource I've been tracking.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
For sure.
You remove your gear to let it air out a little bit, and Vice scouts out to defense and security. So she can't really, like, join in with a lot of other conversations because she's looking out. One of the other dwarves accompanies her, just so you're not going off by yourself to look around the area. You set up your tents just between some of these, like, a bit stragglier trees, but it's nice because you can hang up, like, some ropes and things to let bits air out just from a bit of sweat as you're traveling. Hang up your cloaks. That is a success for Vice. Manages to find you an area where there's not a lot of the sticky sap that's kind of gotten into the snow and disguised itself, so you're not going to get it on your tents or anything. Like, it clears that out, so it's a bit nicer. Doesn't seem like too much in this area. Perhaps some of the sense that happened around the pass means that this particular first leg of the journey is a bit... Well, we don't have many animals or creatures gathering around, since they would be more attractive to the sense behind us.
Hell yeah. Hey.
Great, you've done your encounters. Very, very nice. Now, assuming that is all that happens, you have some time in the evening, of course, to communicate with each other as you are resting. Certain letters, certain studies that you're working on, talking about languages. Is there anything that anyone wants to say for the day or mark?
Sorry, I just noticed behind you that something was moving and I didn't know how it was moving, but I'm guessing it's the fan. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, it's been moving this whole time. The thing in the top corner, I've been staring at it a lot.
Me out, guys. You're fine. There's nothing happening. You get.
Yes,
but
the fan is on.
It was swinging before, like it was like. Ooh.
Yeah, it's been doing that. It was very
I wonder if I can.
Anyway, at one point in the night, I want to talk to Taz. We can do that now or later.
Yeah, do now.
Yeah, okay. I think once everyone's gotten settled and we've eaten food and etc., Awaish approaches Tazriel and says, "Oh,
before you say that, I think you come up on him as he's like, after the food's done, he's kind of like gone off in a little corner, just pulled out the notebook that he has, and you kind of like come up on him reading something, and as soon as you speak, he just like closes.
Is this a bad time?
No.
Are you... Let me be clear. The thing I am about to propose could mean that I see what you were just looking at.
What are you about to propose?
Well, you were a bit curious about what caused the delving that we all partook, let's say, while we were on the ship, and understanding certain facets of your mind better, and I believe I have a way to try to look a little closer, if you would allow me.
I am not excited about the thought of anybody in my head again, but I do want to know how it's happened, so yes.
Excellent. Well, make yourself comfortable. And we'll wait until you're, like, prepared, yeah.
Yeah, put the stuff away. All right.
Awaish pulls out Darren, who is at this point just a book. Sorry, bud. he's in stealth mode as book, and begins flipping through the pages, and then starts muttering a little bit under their breath, and then, in the way that we have seen before, starts gently pulling something out of the book, and you see a rune glowing with it, and then actually reaches for your temple, Tazriel, and presses, and you feel a slight, almost like a frost or a chill. And when they remove their hand, the rune is gone from where they have picked it up, and you can assume that it is now, in certain effects, tattooed on your own temple, and
does it feel like anything when he touches it?
It feels like, I am so sorry to take us on a cliffhanger, but I think something just went wrong with something that I'm trying to do, and I might need to check up on it.
No worries.
So they do this, and then smash cut.
Let's take a second as Sarah's doing that. Oh, hi, Dylan. Blow you a kiss.
Hey.
Yes.
I'd love to have I think Barden definitely sets up a tent with the intentions of hoping that Taz and Kiara join in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, Kiara, it'd be nice to can we just have a little... I miss you. I'd like to spend some time. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course, yes.
I've actually wanted to draw you for a while. I've wanted to draw everyone, but you're first, of course.
Oh, yay! Okay, what should I do? How should I sit?
So you could always... She starts doing some really dumb poses, like Vogue style, but just... I mean, I just really want you smiling, so however you feel most comfortable, however you like we can just lay down. And she kind of goes on one side, she's got like her book there, and she's doing some sketchy.
Yeah.
She's like, I wanted to ask, like, I know I've been writing letters home. What has Kiara decided to pose with?
Kiara's probably just going to like get very cozy and comfortable and like pull out the more of the little crowns and other little accoutrements that
I love this.
they've been hand weaving. So that's what we'll just do while we chat.
I think Barden's definitely like held around. So it's like, I think she probably has her back to the entrance of the tent just to try and like, it's like trying to build a wall around you to make sure you're okay. Just like and not even a thought that they process, it's just what they do. Just starts drawing. I've been writing letters home. I wondered, do you have anyone to do that with? I know you've had people looking after you, but just, you don't have to. I want to know what made Kiara. Or who?
No, I don't really send letters home because, well, as you know, I'm not really supposed to be here. And so I never really quite understood or took the time to understand how security generally worked, but I'm always afraid that if I send something home, they could track it back to where we are and, come try to get us again. But that's okay. If I could send letters, I might send them to my cousin, but once again, I don't think they would understand why I'm here because it's not the choice they made. When their time came, they did what was asked of them.
Who have I heard of them, met them? This isn't that prince, the guy with the...
No. This, I don't think Kiara has mentioned this cousin. This is the cousin that was in Kiara's flashback, the one who was like a little bit older, and the one who guided Kiara through going to meet her grandfather and taking the vow and all that. Yeah. But yeah, I don't. No one has that I know. I mean, it could just be that they just have not been advertising it. No one else seems to have decided to go explore the world first. So I don't know who would understand. Well, I cannot make that assumption. The people I've been around have been alive for a very long time. And as you know, secrets accumulate over time. So I don't pretend to know what they don't tell me. But as far as I've been told and taught, everyone has done what was asked of them when the time came.
That doesn't... I know I don't know you as well as they do, but I don't see that in you. Doing what you're told.
You see a little rebellious streak in me?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't actually that rebellious growing up. I just didn't really have a reason to be.
It's comfortable, isn't it? Being sheltered. You can see, like, Barden going through, just easy to just stay where it's easy to be and not necessarily endanger yourself. Especially when people just tell you to stay home and to look after yourself and to not get in trouble. I can see how that would be.
Even that, as much as it was the only thing I knew and the only thing I heard of. And so when you don't hear about what's out there, it's not an obvious thing to want to go search it out. If I had grown up with stories of beautiful adventurers doing, wondrous things, maybe I would have wanted to become one of them. But in a way, the stories I heard were all about things that happened at home and legends of great deeds done where I lived.
It would have been nice if we'd known each other then. I could have shown you so many books.
Time? You can show me your books when we get back.
Yeah, you didn't actually get to meet my dad, did you? My other
No, because Pujo was not in those episodes.
I think he'd love you. I think he'd find you fascinating.
I would love to meet him. Yeah. I mean, I want to see the man who was responsible for making, in part, you who you are.
He's definitely a quiet man. You know, he tried his best. He didn't. And there's a moment of realizing where they are. They're in a tent. And there's someone nearby. He tried his best. He did what he could. With an adopted child. You know? But if you ever want to send letters, you could send them to my dad. And then he could send them on. You know, sneaky like. Like we could manage that. That'd be fine. I want to know more about you. You're very important, you know?
But I promise I'm really not that interesting. And also I was gonna say, you know,
before she can even like continue that sentence, book down, she tackles her, like tickling, like, no, stop it. Don't say you're not interesting.
Well,
amazing.
I guess what I meant to say is like I didn't have interesting things happen to me as a child. And also, you know, just because you were adopted does not say anything to me about the kind of father that your father was, because I was not adopted and I can tell you about how my father is. So, you know, blood doesn't actually mean all that much at the end of the day.
Oh,
to certain people, I guess. To others, it means a lot. Too much.
For, at least in Ranabara, doesn't matter as much, you know. Especially with the way, you know, the country joined together, it's a mishmash of everything, so... Yeah.
It's mostly raised not by blood. I mean,
yeah.
I was still loved.
Who by?
And I think Kiara will tell you about the court of words are hard. I think Tiger's Eye and the other folks at the court who helped kind of raised Kiara in a gaggle of other royal kids.
Barden is drawing as you describe them. And doing like probably not great versions of them just from descriptions, but definitely as we keep talking, like she curls up closer and just kind of like settles her head on your lap and just like is enjoying the time just to have some comfort and some nice time with her friend. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also shows of the picture. I do kind of want to roll to see how good it is.
You want to see how good the picture is?
Yeah, because I could just draw it. That could be really nice because it's Barden's art, but it would be very funny if it was really bad.
Sure. Give me a dexterity check.
Oh no.
Do it.
Can I get... No, I haven't said that I draw a lot, so... Dexterity check. You know what? Oh! That's an unnatural 20.
Oh,
it's real
nice.
good.
Dirty
It's
20, baby.
Very good.
I get the dimples. I have my eraser, and I get the highlights in her eyes and her hair.
Yeah.
And I like even make. There's like I've seen Abjur, so I've done like Abjurian patterns around her in a halo.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's fucking beautiful. And then you see Tiger's Eye on the next page, and it's okay. It hasn't got the love in it that you can see in that page.
Just kind of a big cat.
Yeah. What do you think?
Wow. Stunning. Yeah. I did not know about with all of your other talents, you were also a great artist. What the fuck?
Well, you know.
Leave some for the rest of us.
I have a great muse. Closes the book. And that's
great. You guys are dallying in your tent. Matthias has fucked off. Who knows where Matthias is?
Screw he's following Aldris.
Aldris is currently cleaning up his weapons, so he's doing the like polishing, upkeeping, you know.
He's just like
wiping on the rapier with
behind a tree.
Weapon oil. Matthias is gone.
Matthias came back. Matthias is back. He had fucked off, but he has returned.
Yeah, I think Vice is helping cook some of the ration, just like heat up, that kind of thing. Probably said to Matthias, like, could you bring back some snow to heat up for water?
Absolutely.
Before Kiara went into the tent, she would have cast Create Bonfire, where indicated, if indicated.
Yes, you drag over some boulders, and I think maybe even put some branches like over or around the fire. You don't want a ton of the light coming out, so you would like use a rope and hang some kinds of fabric over it so it's not as bright.
Yeah,
For the time
like maybe
being,
we
but
make
do,
like little walls for a little camp almost.
Yes. But yeah, it is notable that you would all probably be looking at Aldris to make sure he's, I don't know, not acting weird. He seems very aware of the fact that you all are interested in him still. But the only time that he like really stands up or starts or like looks over is again when Awish or Tazriel pass closer to him as they're doing camp stuff.
We get it. We're hot.
Yeah,
wait. Yeah. Okay. I was literally raising my hand to say I want that the times that he notices me looking at them is like Taz still in his mind is like, if we have to kill you, we will. But what is actually happening? It's kind of checking him out. It's hot. But question.
Yeah.
Does Taz notice the movement when he passes by? Can he figure out what that's about?
It's not even an insight check. It's just that he seems more either interested in or paying more attention to both you and Oish.
I think Taz was just doing things around the camp and then like picks up on that before this happens with Oish and goes and sits by the silver fucko. I'm sorry. I haven't even been calling him that in my head, but
I don't think I've made your acquaintance.
No. Fire Knight Tazriel Amory.
Aldris Quar. Member of the first rank of the Gold and Silver and Searching.
You can call me Taz.
You can call me Aldris. I have a fair warning for you. There are certain things in this forsaken wasteland that will leave a mark upon you, even if you can see it no longer. You bear the taint of such a mark. I urge you caution.
He just kind of sighs at that. Do you know how to get rid of it? The taint.
There are certain methods that work, and at other points they do not. Factors at play are difficult to determine. Certainly, there are magical methods that sanctify, but, well, if you have any kind of dark thoughts, or feel your body changing in unexpected ways, a member of a holy order, or someone with divine magics might be useful to turn to. I would urge you to convey the same caution to your elven friend.
you sense the same thing on them?
I have a certain item in my possession that allows me to get an early warning for things that Icar has touched.
Thank you. I must admit, I did notice your interest slightly piqued by myself and Oash, and I had come over here to determine what that was. I had not been thinking this is where that conversation would be going.
You want something further from me?
Only if you also want it from me, but this information.
Are you discussing things of a carnal nature?
This is me too. I was coming to determine if that's what the interest was. I was unsure myself.
No, I'm married.
I wish you great happiness in that.
You do not need to wish it to me for it to exist.
I doesn't know what to say to that. So it's just gonna give like a appreciative nod at that, and just gonna go back to the corner he was in earlier.
Wife guy. Well, spouse guy. We don't know.
He's a wife guy. Yeah.
Wife guy is an energy. It's not related to the gender of your spouse. I
trust him now.
Yeah.
Wife guy is non-gendered.
I love seeing what makes you guys have different opinions about NPCs. It's so wild.
It's
a man in a committed
wife
relationship?
guy.
What's hotter than that?
Yeah.
Anne is happy?
Yeah.
The only thing hotter than that is, I guess, if you have to
Stop
like men, daddy.
If he has children, it's over.
I know. That's the only
He's
thing.
too hot. We explode.
Especially if he's a grumpy guy who's had a very precocious ward thrust upon him. Yeah, basically. If this is a Pedro Pascal situation.
Yeah. If you give us Last of Us Dad, we're into it. Love you, Alex.
Oh my god. I will say we have to take another break here in like 5 minutes or so, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Or something. So this is obviously you're gonna finish your encounter off with Tazriel, but Matthias, you are going out to look for gathering some snow.
Yes.
Okay, great. It's pretty bright even besides the fire, just because of the, I don't know, like the moonlight, I guess, and the snow has mostly cleared up at this point. You've just been getting like, flurries throughout the day. Do you want to give me an investigation check to see if you find anything while you are out?
I would love that. 14.
Okay. Great. Now, as you are wandering around a bit, you want to find some of the fresher snow that doesn't have that like sap in it, obviously, and you keep an eye on where you can at least see like the bits of the fire in the distance. They've done a pretty good job of shielding it, but I think probably Laura and some of the brothers are like still scouting around a bit, just on the outskirts of the camp, so they keep an eye out. But you vaguely hear, once you've left the noise of people talking quietly behind, you vaguely hear some of the familiar sounds, and smell some of the familiar smells of the wastes. In the distance, perhaps some kind of bear, a low, long roar far away that echoes through the trees. The scuffling sounds of, animals taking off, perhaps birds. Nothing of too much note in your investigation, except for the fact that the stones around you are of a familiar color, where they've broken off from like the frozen ground, in that you're going up higher into the mountains, and so there's a different consistency there. Perhaps you pick up not the darker volcanic rock of some of the Gale Peaks, but just like getting towards that darker color of stone.
Got it. Fuck yeah. Okay. I'm gonna gather up my shit and go back.
Okay.
Fucking shit.
Going.
Great. All right, you guys rest down for the evening and gain the benefits of a short rest. Or you prepare to set off on your journey for the next day. Now, the next day you are going to be traveling through a bit of a higher elevation. It might be a little bit more difficult, but we're going to take another break here before we move on to. So,
Be right
see you
back.
guys in a little bit.
Vic, no,
Be right
Tad's got a
back.
dog piled. He's gonna sleep.
Yeah.
He's
Boy,
sleeping.
come here.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome back. Thanks to bearing with us, y'all. Let's play D&D again. Would you remind me what day it is, Sloan, if you have that information readily available?
The day that is, so we're doing night shift. We're doing it's nighttime. Wow, holy fuck.
Night shift.
It's the 22nd today.
Of Neth?
Of Neth.
Okay, great. I'm just looking. So the 22nd of Neth means that the Titan is currently full and Varun is waxing.
Mm-hmm.
It is also Horror's Day, but tomorrow it is going to be Bane's Day, which means it's almost the weekend. The weekend being, one day, but Bane's Day is also a little bit the weekend because in Neum we have 4-day work weeks.
Yay!
New York is right. Great. Okay, and I think that's
Wait, question. 4-day work weeks,
Yeah.
but how long is the actual week?
6 days.
So 4 out of 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Bad.
Mm-hmm. But a bit shorter weeks, of course, but then the months themselves are a bit longer, I believe. As far as you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Got 5 weeks of 6 days each per month and 12 months. So the years as well are also a bit shorter than our years. But they pack a lot more into those years in this fantasy world, I'll tell you that.
A lot happening.
You got a lot going on, Okay, great. So, we are finishing our watch. Awaish, you had pulled Tazriel aside
Yes.
to do this. You want to continue that?
Yeah, and Tazriel, your question was, does it feel like anything?
Yeah.
Right? Well, you feel that frost at your temple that kind of starts in a very small position and then kind of begins to wreath itself around like a crown and then digs a little deeper. And at first it just feels physical, but then it feels like a consciousness pressing into your own head. And you can choose to let this consciousness in or not, or try to resist it.
I think there's like a hesitation just for a moment, like a natural recoil at the idea of allowing you forward, but then no resistance.
Great. So first I would get Tazriel's surface thoughts. But then I would, it says, if you probe deeper, target must make a wisdom saving throw. And Taz just gave that. And you gain insight into its reasoning, its emotional state, something that looms large in its mind, traditionally. Alex, I'll leave it up to you if there's anything else that happens as a result of this, since this is a little fucky-wucky.
Now, you're specifically trying to perhaps offer Taz some insight into his own mind and mental state?
Yeah, kind of understanding what's going on in there.
Yeah, I'm interested in... I mean, Taz, you are a psionic. And so anything related to detecting your thoughts, certainly your thoughts are more physically... more powerfully present, I suppose, like in that they extend beyond a range and you are not always in control of that fact. So normally... as well. This is just kind of an interesting note. I haven't thought about it before, but usually detect thoughts, you don't recognize the initial, you only would know it if the person pressed further, but since Awaish is obviously deliberately letting you know Tazriel, so you get kind of a sense of the flavor of Awaish's mind, as you have previously from talking to them. So it's not unfamiliar, you recognize there's no, sinister controlling overtones, like someone is making Awaish do this, right? You can sense purely just their mind as they do it. But let's see here. Taz, you are letting Awaish into your brain a little bit. First, just tell us what you're thinking about as this is happening, how Taz is feeling.
Taz is a little tense, a little anxious about what's going to be found deeper in his head, but like the surface thoughts is the letter that he just read. And Alex, if it is appropriate for the letter to be read at this point.
Oh, actually, that's kind of cool. I think this is a great way to have Barden's letter be read. Yeah, let's do that. That's very nice.
Dan, you wanna
share that, Shen? That's very cinematic. Little zoom in.
I'm trying to... Okay. SK, thank you so much for your patience. I know it has been a longer pause in our still budding correspondence. A few events have caused some ruckus in our party. Discovery of some of my stranger abilities, sadly causing some of them. But what is done is done. No point crying over spilled ink, like my father likes to say. The story goes on. I appreciate your indiscretion, but I'm sure you won't mind a little cloak and veil. If you're anything like your companion, I'm sure it could be a way of life. And I'm a little concerned, yes, that he told you. You must understand, or maybe feel the same way. I have people to care for, those who would lose everything at their harboring of me. You understand, you know what happens to folks who are caught hiding us. Death is the easiest of it, where I come from. Though, perhaps you may know if you took care of others like us. I'm not certain how I feel knowing this. Protecting others is all I want in the world, but knowing I could maybe have spoken someone down from threat to friend, to give someone like me a hand to help. I'm so sorry for your loss. I cannot imagine the pain of hurting those you love. To lose your mind to something you could not help. To lose yourself. And if your powers are a dark mirror of his, I cannot imagine the horror you go through in holding yourself together. As much as I find myself stretched some days by dreams and nightmares, I am glad that I have who I am locked up tight. I'm sorry, but I need something to prove how true you're being. I want to trust Taz's intuition, but there is too much hanging in the balance for me now. Too much has happened to make me worry. You say you were a hunter once. And even though hearts can change, I refuse to be the white heart at the end of the arrowhead to lead the hunter home. Once I know you can be trusted, then I'll write again. I'm sorry.
That's great writing, god damn. So you get some snippets of this letter. Oash just has us thinking about it, just the general sense and anxiety of, communication, I think, with novel as well, and all of that. As you probe deeper, and stop me if you want to interject, VJ, if you feel like I don't want to speak on Tasrel's behalf for how he's feeling or how his mind operates, but I'll give kind of a general sense of how we've kind of ordered it and organized it, which is to say that as a psionic, it is not that Taz has a presence within him that is altering his mind, but rather that from head to toe, who he is something that is pushing outside of his own consciousness. That his mind is too small to hold him. The emotions he feels, the things that he's been through, they are present. If not just, what he's thinking about in the way that his consciousness projects. It is an active effort to continually hold it back. And the way that his psionic daggers manifest, the way that he is able to enchant those weapons, the many abilities that he has, are all things that let off a little bit of steam. Would you say that's right, V? In, releasing the psionic pressure of just having some kind of power that is constant. So I think, Oash, this is your first time actively using the Detect Thoughts spell, but even that is enough to say that you cannot imagine everyone's mind is as much of an ocean as Tazriel's is, a stormy ocean. So much so that you find yourself a bit lost in the overwhelming and quick shifting nature of his internal dialogue.
Sure. Can I try to focus in and find, I suppose, a very deep thought and understand if it is, I don't even need to know like what the thought is necessarily. I'm more speaking to like the way that we can have surface thoughts, we can have like, and then there's like instincts, you know? Like there are things that like are more present and eternal and like broach into the way that surface thoughts contain themselves, and understand from that where Taz's mind like exists as its own and where maybe it has changed and shifted as he's grown.
This is quite literally brain surgery, but with magic. So I would love both Tazriel, I think, can you give me a charisma check in just trying to think about things that might be helpful to Awaish in this moment? And then Awaish, could you give me an arcana check for, of course, your dexterity and using the weave to guide you?
Alex, do you think this would be a disadvantage given his exhaustion as well? Just...
Yes.
Not inherently so. Your exhaustion certainly guides things that, like, how perceptive you are, you know, how rational your decisions are. But when it comes to, like, just thinking of things in your mind, being exhausted might bring certain things to the surface even more clearly than, you know, not. So.
Oh, not bad. Charisma. That's going to be 16.
Okay.
And that's a 24 for my arcana.
Excellent. This is quite difficult for something you're doing for the first time. Those are great successes on those checks, which means that you're able to accomplish some of what you're looking to do. Like I said, Awaish, you're using the weave to guide you in this. You are a foreigner in a space and a domain that is not one you have stepped into previously, but you are at least knowledgeable about things like the astral plane and the domain of Whisper, even though not many would call it the domain of Whisper, right? This was like kind of more of an archaic sense of knowledge, but you have quite literally looked into it with Siren. So there's that familiarity there, that you've been on his observation deck of the plane of dream, right? Has his mind resolves itself into a forest as he concentrates. And wandering through that forest is overstimulating and overwhelming. The trees change, the path forks, but you get the sense that even as it changes, it's been walked many times before, and that there are many people in there with you, not just the people that Taz thinks about or is thinking about, or the people that he's cared about in the past, but that there are versions of himself in there that he is wrestling. Perhaps previous versions prior to becoming a Brightling, perhaps prior versions even to him acquiring some of these powers. There's a general sense that he is indistinguishable now from this psionic ability. It has changed him so radically that he could never go back. And also helps to explain to you the idea of how maybe Valkyrie or other people might have a physical effect on both the dreams or the world around, because it's, I don't know, your most comparable experience would be the way that you think about or feel about people who you've loved very dearly in the past. But even more so, they're physically present in his mind in a way that's very strong.
Mm-hmm.
As if, you know, if you were to channel power into him, if you could take like pure weave, pure spell slots, right, and just give them to Tazriel and say, without even casting a spell, manifest what you're feeling, you can very much imagine how he could just project these people into life.
That's very interesting. Okay. Obviously, there's no way to go back. And this seems to be just I don't think that that's a thing that is, like, desirable in any way either. This seems to also be something that, like, you said, it extends out from him, that it, like, pushes into the world, and doing these things, these psionic expressions are letting off the steam. Do I get the sense that, like, developing, becoming stronger, trying to lean into this, would that help or hurt?
Even with those high rolls, that's just hard. Something that maybe Taz doesn't know, that even you examining his mind, you'd be unable to figure out. Like, training in a skill certainly develops it, but it's really impossible to say if he's encouraging the growth of these powers and therefore succumbing to them, or if he's training himself and therefore becoming more in control. Like, there's just too much time that would take. Maybe something that you wouldn't even be able to understand with just a spell, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
It only lasts a minute, correct?
It lasts 1 minute, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that Awaish just takes a look around them, trying to cement the image of this forest in their mind, and then the spell dissipates and they get pulled out. It's very disorienting.
As what do you look like? You can feel Waish's presence. Do you think you're manifesting psionically at all as this is happening?
You know, that's a great question, Alex. Hold on. Yeah, I think so. I think maybe having somebody else in there looking at, like, I don't, all of Taz's stuff before has very much been like projecting thoughts, emotions, and of course there are like how am I trying to describe this? I think having somebody in there and visibly seeing what the inside of his head looks like might be causing him to, like, be more like projecting an image of things around him than elsewise. Maybe not like all of it, maybe like immediately directly around him, because it's not something he can, like, actually do in any capacity right now.
Very interesting, the idea that you are manifesting like a smaller version of Oasis walking around as they're exploring. Like a little illusion.
Yeah.
His antlers turn into trees.
Ooh, little
and
like
just
buds
passing through, like around in his head.
That's cute. You just
That's great. But only for a brief minute, which even in the lamplight might be hard for other people to notice. I'm going to say I don't think that anyone else specifically notices it. Everyone else was engaged like in the tent or outside, so there's still a privacy to it. But as you pull back, the images fade. This is a notably intimate experience for the two of you.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the choice that's been made here with you two sharing a choice of mind. So I'm going to say that either of you could gain an identity point. Probably I'm going to give it to Tazriel, if only because you're helping him come to terms with who he is.
Sure.
So if you want to mark that down, BJ.
I suppose you don't need any explanation of what I did since you were present for it.
I don't know.
Awaish pauses for a moment and then stands with their staff in their hand, adjusts a bit, and sits down next to Tazriel and reaches out with a hand. They put their staff down and then waits for your permission to take Tazriel's hand.
I think there's a little bit of like, so this is a little bit of shock there, but yeah, he'll let you take it.
They take your hand and they spread it out flat with the palm facing up. And then they place it on your knee. And then they take the other hand, spread it out flat, and place that one on your knee as well. And they say, close your eyes. And imagine yourself walking through that forest. Each bough of each tree contains a fruit. And in that fruit is a memory of what you have done today, perhaps the day before. You must take them and sort them. And Awaish is trying to give Tazriel a little learner's guide on how to trance.
Oh, lovely. It takes a very long time to potentially learn to trance, but Tazriel, this is a meditative practice that you can engage in that will help you sort your mind. And perhaps someday you do gain the ability to trance. We will see.
Okay.
Very sweet. It is dark, and you gain the benefits of a short rest. Most of you didn't really spend spell slots or anything like that, but I think Vice it helped Vice heal up because she second wins again on that. Kiara, if you had any Warlock spell slots that you had spent and wanted to gain back on a short rest, or any Arcane Recovery that you're conducting, Awaish.
Sorry, I got distracted. I am writing a letter tonight, but that can wait if needed.
Is this who are you writing a letter to?
To Siren.
Okay, fantastic. I actually think this is a good time to share it because I want
Sure.
the information that you're conveying to become known to the group, and so
Yes.
I would love if you would like to read it out, if you have it.
Yes, as a thing as well, Awaish did go around and ask if there was anything that anyone wanted to report back to Fulcrum immediately, and would also include that. Is there anything that anyone would like included?
Just a basic rundown of all of the things that have happened. Just give them, not everything, the stuff that we can keep some things to ourselves, but anything that's relevant to the mission.
Kiara will ask that we tell them about Aldris joining, just in case there's any immediate information that they would send back in response.
Yeah.
Maybe the unionizing. I think Siren would be interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an opportunity there, if nothing else.
Yeah. Also because I think this is one of your first group Fulcrum reports in the Waste, and so I do want to share that on screen.
Absolutely. Awaish will include all of those things. Those are not things that I have physically written out, so they won't be represented in the thing I'm about to read out, but they all make it in. Some of them are represented, but okay. Awaish sits down in a more private moment and opens their grimoire. They cantrip a mage hand, as it can write faster and with less tiring than their physical hand can, and begin to write out a message. And it says, I am sending you some information as well as later some items which you may find useful. We encountered a great creature under the water and plumbed the depths of its corpse. It had a great many chambers with hearts made of crystal, a shard of which I will be sending to you, and texts that implied a cult having made their own home inside the creature long ago. I did not get to observe it all as closely as I would have liked. Being underwater was not the most enjoyable experience, but I did what I could. I touched a bit of black ichor, which adhered itself to me and transmitted the message feed before Matthias was able to successfully rid me of it. That was almost a shame, really, as it was interesting, but Tazriel touched the same and now has silvered stitches spanning his body. I think I may be able to create some magic out of it if time permits. We recently encountered a family of mages that did not use magic traditionally. Rather, they harnessed an oil, which was extremely negatively reactive to traditional magic, lightning, and explosive gas and heat in order to fuel their magic. I saw some similar measures in Coral Helm. This was before we remembered the name. Elkhorn.
Oh, yeah.
But nothing to this extent. Their entire house and even their clothing were imbued with this strange magic and fueled automatons that did their bidding without a mage's focus. The family's name is Waspman and Crucible, if you would care to take a closer look, though I must warn caution. You are certainly quite skilled, but skill and power against the blunt force I observed there may not matter. Third, piracy suffers across coasts and countries. This means trouble not just for the criminal underbelly, but for any Surduxes or Plutarchs that have used such groups to achieve their own advantages. It would be wise to take note of who among them has been showing that strain as of late and using the information accordingly. Some organizations, such as the Dulcimers, may turn to other means of survival. Means such as the production and circulation of drugs, though that is not confirmed, we'll update later. A last little note. I ran into our mutual friend. I have a new piece of art to show for it with some interesting tricks. It was a good replacement after losing one to a rather stubborn bridge guard. The wastes are beyond interesting and take almost all my attention, but the library still sits large in my mind. Please destroy this message once you have reviewed its contents. That is the end.
It takes you a while to write this out with your mage hand and add in the additional considerations for the rest of your group. It is growing later, and of course you will want to trance. Most people have gone to bed at this point, but you begin to see a reply. A simple acknowledged in his familiar handwriting, underlined and underscored. More research notes to follow. Thank you for your delivery of these messages. I am quite intrigued in the progress of your expedition's travel, and especially in this black ichor and oil that you mentioned.
Hell yeah.
He will have more words for you in the future.
Great.
But I want to just open up with a final scene as we're almost closing here, which is that in the morning, as you arise once again at dawn to begin your preparations to look and consult your maps for travel, it seems as though Aldris is a bit cheerier today. You're not sure why that is, but he's actually cooking over has relit the fire and is cooking over it. And says with, kind of out loud to Laura as she gets up, he pours her a cup of something hot and steaming. Soon. Tomorrow. I think my prey will be within my grasp and we'll finally see the effects, as you anticipated, of the dual fullness.
Dual fullness?
2 moons.
Both moons, both.
Oh, yes.
4 moons. Rune and Titan, baby.
2 moons. He seems very excited.
Scary.
You pack up your camp, but as you are doing so, he begins talking excitedly, kind of in the earshot of most people, to Laura, telling her some kind of story.
Story?
Who's setting up? Who's going to be around to hear this?
I want a story.
We're all eavesdropping.
Everyone's eavesdropping.
Yeah.
Okay. Notable because Kiara, as he begins, this is a very familiar tale to you. This is something that's been told within the Raj plenty of times. This is kind of a famous legend, I will say, although it's told a little bit differently in how he interprets it. But he's talking to Laura, again, fairly excitedly, saying that this is sometimes called, this is given his group a name in that confluences of lunar activity and natural activity can influence the presence both of magic and of monstrosity. And so this is sometimes called a wild witch moon, which is when the two moons are together and it happens earlier than expected, or that there has been some kind of signal within the moons happening before a double moon, and that supposedly certain folks who are born under a wild witch moon have the potential to gain unique abilities and unique powers. After talking about that for a little bit, he dives into that story, which is familiar to you, Kiara, and that he kind of gets off on a tangent about like famous and powerful figures, discussing I think he actually mentions Feverfew at one point, although that's less of a Abjurian legend. He talks about a famous female huntress who was supposedly ascended to some kind of demigodhood about, like, I don't know, thousands of years ago, as the story goes. This famed hunter who would promise herself to no man. Goes on about this for a while. And then goes on to say, I cannot confirm the veracity of this story. I was told it by a friend of mine within the high semi-precious court of the royal kingdom of the Rajan. But supposedly within their family, there is a legend, a famous legend of a blessing from the god of fire himself, Bane, who sends his many ministrations down upon those of that family. They say, although I, again, cannot confirm if this is truth, that long ago, one of the descendants, first descendants of the Raj himself, Tezevi, Bane Blessed, was alike to this female huntress, this demigoddess, in that she manifested an intense connection to Bane. Now, I've seen plenty of the most powerful mages, sorceresses, and fighters of this family, so I do believe that maybe this blood runs in them. But supposedly, this divine figure could set forests on fire with a whispered command. It's interesting that it seems to coincide with some kind of natural blight in their history. They claim that one of the burning of the forests of near Taran before it grew back actually coincided with this famed figure taking a single step and therefore burning the entire forest down with her lack of caution. Not sure I believe that. But it is interesting to my group in particular. You see, we do a constant study of these kinds of lore and legends. We believe that there is some truth to be found in even the most pagan of stories, certain warnings that might come from the ongoing presence of a monster or dark presence, something that seeps into the popular culture, even becoming part of nursery rhymes, right? So it is a good way that we direct ourselves to these, well, to something that might bring both coin and protect the people. Supposedly, this divine figure within the family, and this is not the one you might have heard of, the Celestial, who still walks on land and is descended from Tezevi. No, this is some kind of legend of a hero who will rescue those who cannot be rescued. An answer to the wild, something that rises up to combat it in time, something that helped the Raj when they first burned back the dark unknown forest at the edges and took back some of the territory that was previously unmanageable. But legends say that she walked into the forest herself to do battle with a gigantic monstrosity, one of the mythological dragons, and they fought themselves together to a standstill until, after, who knows, hundreds of years, they burned a permanent mark miles distant in the lost part of this continent, in Ungekwan.
Like, Barden is so fucking torn because it's just like, it's like sitting, trying not to look too interested because it's a story, but also just like looking to Kiara. You heard this one?
Has Kiara heard this one?
You have heard a very different version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you haven't heard of a, like, goddess that your family is descended from going into the woods and being lost. And you haven't heard of manifesting powers that would, like, burn down forests. The control of flames and the use of flames is something that's almost essential to your family, so it doesn't make sense that the most powerful among you wouldn't be able to control those powers. So you've heard stories of, like, famous mages of your family, or, like, godly blessings descending upon them and allowing them to turn the tide of battle. Some of these divine blessings are quite private to your family, even in, mythology, the way that you wouldn't just tell people, like, hey, I can... call the sun down upon you, because if you actually can do it, you don't really want to let them know.
Yeah.
So there are more private versions of these legends, but certainly the story of, like, a famed feminine figure who blessed your family, that is very familiar to you and something you've thought about before.
Yeah. And Kiara will say that, no, this version is different, but I also get a feeling that this guy over here treats legends and folklores literally. Like, I understand that there's things to learn from stories, but you also have to understand that they have been morphed by every storyteller that has touched it. And so I can see where these stories might have been the same, the ones that were passed down in my own family, and what he has heard. But there are modifications that I've never encountered.
Well, she gently takes Kiara's hand and places it on the blade on her back. And she's like, some stories are, more real than you think. I imagine that the rays were much like stories of a goddess who was out of control of fire, would they? That's not really their thing.
But cautionary tales are.
But not like, this is my ancestor and she was out of control and...
I don't know. I feel like somebody somewhere would be like, "Oh, get your power under control, or else you'll burn the whole place down." Like what's her face did. Like, completely guilt us into behaving. Like, I can see that too.
But yeah, I can understand that. And I mean, he might see any myth and legend as a bounty, So I bet there's part of him that needs it to be true. But she does look so intrigued. She's like, I wonder how much he knows.
I mean, Kiara is also very curious as to what else he knows, because then she'll say, like, it is very interesting hearing stories that I've always considered so personal to the family, as they have been the only source of them for me, from someone not belonging.
Must be strange. Hard sometimes.
Strange, but in an interesting way. Like, it's always strange to it's always, you know how it's always interesting to hear how somebody's impression of you after the fact.
Yeah. I've actually heard a few of these myself. Does the little eyebrow raise like
Yes, exactly.
Can
So
be useful.
it's
yeah. But should we ask? I feel weird asking more.
better you than me.
I shouldn't show him the sword, should I?
No,
feel like that's just
absolutely
asking
not.
for trouble.
Yeah, just I don't
Show him the
know.
book.
You
Show him
could
the book.
you could
Should
just be
fine.
authentically interested in knowing more. Some people respond to that
Two of
too.
them crowded together. Whispering. Oh, okay. Excuse me. I genuinely forgot the name.
Aldous.
Thank you.
As you go over to talk to him as he's still talking, you're interrupted by Vice going, "Are we going to spend all day talking about stories, or are we going to set off?" Which means that you can continue to talk alongside him, but you will begin. The carts begin to set out.
Walking and talking.
Yes.
Sorry, Vice.
But
We were walking and talking anyway.
Yeah.
We're walking and talking anyway. But we're going to leave the episode here for now as you set off on your second day of travel, and we'll open up with talking a little bit more to Aldris about some legends and stories. But Kiara in particular, this story does stir something within you. You are thinking thoughts, thinking very many thoughts about some of your family legends. In this case, I do not think we're going to have an episode next week, unfortunately. We will have Big Bad coming up, and we're just going to take some time for ourselves to chat as a group and figure out what our upcoming schedule is looking like. But of course, Tragedy of Theologian, I believe, is back either, if not this week, then next week. So always check them out at 8:30 p.m. EST, I think, on Sundays. You can find previous episodes of Strange Hungers on our YouTube at Total Party Kiss. And keep an eye out on our Twitter and our Instagram for more updates at Total Party Kiss as well. Any other shout out? Oh, One More Multiverse brings us these incredible, beautiful pixel art style maps. Soundtail brings us our music. And thank you as always to Sun, our amazing producer, and to the rest of my cast for playing D&D with me because I love you guys so much.
So
Anything
good.
anyone wants to shout out really fast? Yeah, Shen.
Speaking of Big Bad Con, I mean, a lot of these guys are going to be there, but also Alex is going to be running games for Confluence, which is a TTRPG that we've both been working on. We are so proud of it. Alex is going to be like actually doing the games, showing off the art that me and the rest of the art team at Confluence have been doing. I'm so proud of it. I hope everyone gets to see it. I'm not going to be there this year, but I'm hoping to go next year. But if you end up at Big Bad Con, go find Confluence. Everyone's lovely. Our whole team is really cool. And that's me, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Even working so hard.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks, y'all. And we'll see you in a while.
Bye.
Bye.